Today, I'm happy to welcome two of our current Haslam students, and they are Peyton Boord and Joe Kato. And so these guys are doing something new, at least at a formal level for the College of Business. They've started the Tennessee Undergraduate Consulting Club, and so you're both accounting majors, but I know that you also have kind of a broad set of skills, and you've started this new club, and so Peyton, I know you're the president of the TUCC or TUCC, as we're going to call it. You're a accounting major. You're currently this is summer of 2022 when we're filming this. So you're currently doing some consulting in the financial services space as an internship this summer. And then Joe Kato, you're the treasurer of TUCC, also an accounting major. You're actually in my class, my 306 class. In the spring, I got to know you a little bit there, and you're doing some data analytics work in the healthcare sector. So welcome, guys. Thanks for taking some time out of your summer to talk about what you're doing, and I'm really excited to kind of let you guys talk about TUCC and all that you see going. So thanks and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Excited to be here. Thank you.
So let's talk about consulting for just a moment. So that's a word that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, myself included. So when you all say consulting in the context of TUCC, in a nutshell, Joe, what do you actually mean when you're talking about consulting jobs?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, consulting is a very broad term. So when we're talking about consulting, we're talking primarily about management consulting. And so at a high level, what that is problem solving for other companies. So other companies at any size, it could be like a very small company or a Fortune 500. They'll reach out to a consulting firm and they will normally want them to do one of two things, either help them solve a problem or help them grow. And so that's what consultants do on a daily basis, is just help out with solving companies' problems and making them better.
And so then does this, I presume that this is going to encompass everything from a high level strategy aspect all the way to the nitty gritty micro details of communication, right? So and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
So we're a lot of like the interest in TUCC is in that high level strategy, but in the consulting world in general, there's that strategy bit, and then there's, for those interested in the more detailed areas, it's referred to as implementation, which is really getting down into the details, making sure that the plans actually work.
Yeah, excellent. So let's get a little more specific. So Peyton, I know that you're working this summer with KPMG, and you're doing something in the financial services space. So what exactly are you working on right now? Kind of give us a description of your project and your day-to-day activities.
Yeah. So actually, the whole financial services is actually just the area we're servicing. So I'm more specifically helping out with customer and operations, and currently with the engagement I'm working on right now, that entails like the different systems that a customer in the banking area would interact with. So think, iPhone app, think website, stuff like that. So we're helping our client transform their payment. So more specifically with that, like fintech. So the fintech and payment area has changed a lot recently. It started from companies building out their own infrastructure, but now these fintechs are doing it a lot more efficiently. Now it's turning into more of a plug and play system. So we're helping our client identify really what fintechs they want implemented in their system to provide the most value to the customer. So we're helping them decide on that.
I think this is a really interesting. I think it's a good representative case of the sort of the holistic view that is taking place here. Because I mean, if you think about a broad business education, what you're doing, it's not siloed in one particular area. I mean, you've got there's finance for sure, because we're talking about banking and payment going from sort of one party to the next. But when you're tracing, adding various mechanisms through the fintech space and integrating that into the existing company, really we're talking about a supply chain there, right? Because you've got a payment that's originating in one place and it's going to some other place. You've got the accounting piece, which is sort of how we're kind of recording this and how we're tracking this. You've got a data analytics piece. You've got a security piece, right? So I think it's pretty cool that you as a I guess you're a junior now, bringing all those pieces together in a summer internship, and so that's a cool thing about this field. But let's talk a little bit specifically about finance, because I talk to finance students more than anyone. So Peyton, what about finance students in particular? What do you see for sort of their kind of bread and butter in the consulting world?
Yeah. So when you think about consulting in general, one of the big things that we're doing is identifying constraints, and that you see that most often in the form of money. So understanding money and understanding, like the different ways it flows throughout the business, the impact it has, which I think is directly applicable, and what finance students are particularly knowledgeable. That's probably like the biggest value and understanding that you can have as a consultant. That coupled with we do some modeling. We don't do like as much modeling as you'd see in some of the other more prestigious roles, such as investment banking, private equity. We don't do it as much as them, but we still do a lot of it. So yeah, those skills are directly applicable. And if you're not really well versed in finance when you start, you get pretty far behind pretty quick.
So I guess we're talking about some valuation work, right? So maybe there's some type of deal. There's an acquisition, and the consultant's working for either side of the deal, and they're basically trying to figure out what this is worth. And so you're living in this spreadsheet. You're forecasting cash flows and calculating what are present values.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I think you touched on it, M&A and deal valuation and valuation in general is a really big part of consulting, and it's even its own branch of a lot of these consulting firms, and it gets a lot of work. So it's definitely really important, even if you are interested in something that's just more finance specific.
Yeah. Well, in terms of just kind of broad appeal for consulting as a career, Joe, what would you say are the greatest sources of appeal to our students who are kind of thinking of this as a career?
Yeah, so I mean, consulting is regarded as one of the most kind of prestigious areas of business. So with that prestige comes extraordinarily high pay and a lot of opportunities to travel. So that's usually the kind of tangible appeal to a lot of people coming in, is the ability to travel a lot and bring in a lot of money, kind of like the investment side banking is, or investment banking side of finance, where you just bring in a lot of money. But as far as kind of the intangible stuff, the stuff that really drew me towards consulting, it was one, the ability to problem solve and have different problems every single day, to not get bored, I guess, not get stuck in a box, to have the opportunity to work on different engagements. That was extremely appealing to me, as well as just the ability to be around other like-minded people, to be around other driven people who are always striving and helping you become better. So that's kind of the more intangible side of the appeal towards consulting for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, as one of my former students, I love to hear you say things about solving problems and finding solutions because that's exactly what, and I think many of my colleagues would say the same thing. That's exactly the type of stuff that I want my students to do because it's as we talk about in class, I don't want to give you a bunch of just pat answers to every question that you regurgitate over and over again. Rather, I want to equip you with some tools that you can use. And when you face a problem, and every problem is unique, you determine which tool to pull off the shelf and how to use it. And so I think it's super exciting that you're already entering a world where every day is a little bit different. Every problem is a little bit different. Exactly what you're going to be doing. So
Yeah, I mean, it's actually
you
really
an opportunity
similar.
to use creativity, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very similar to kind of how you structured your tests, where it was you may know how to do something, but even still, you might just get stuck because it's not a cookie cutter solution every time. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. You can't use an Excel sheet for everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Or at least a pre-made Excel sheet.
Yeah,
You have to make your own on the fly, which is
yeah,
another incredibly good skill. Um,
yeah.
so I know that UT has put a few recent grads into consulting jobs. Consulting is not a major, right? It's some, but it is sort of a kind of a bringing together of a lot of different majors. But so we'll just say the College of Business as a whole has placed students in some consulting jobs recently. But Peyton, can you offer some specifics on the types of companies that recent grads have been going to and the type of work that they're doing?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk, I guess, in a more broadly, but there are a couple firms called like MBB. We've had some recent placements there, and I think that just goes to show really two things. One, um, before we didn't really, or if you came from the University of Tennessee, you might look at these companies and go, this isn't really possible for me. I'm not really able to go into strategy consulting because the majority recruit out of like target schools, so think like Ivy League schools. And we're really seeing that change. One, we're seeing that our students are actually able to get placed here, like it's possible. And second, that these firms want students that come out of state schools now. So before they go, we're really losing a lot of talent that we could be having by just being so segmented with who we're targeting. And it makes sense why they do it, but now they're realizing where they've been selling themselves short. So that was kind of one of the culminations to start the club is, this is kind of the perfect time where this is needed and also like a natural progression for the University of Tennessee in general.
And so we're talking about like for sure like the McKinseys of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But this also expands into the big accounting firms because I mean you're working with KPMG right now, but I know that our big accounting firms have consulting branches within. But all of these, we're not talking about jobs that you have to have a 20-year career in corporate finance and then go into this job. We're talking about straight into these roles and being a part of a bigger team there, which is just super exciting. What about geographically? Where do you see people going from UT?
Atlanta's a hot spot. Texas, we place a lot of people in Texas. I'm in Charlotte right now, so still close. Even Nashville, we're seeing more and more of a presence of consulting firms in Nashville. So geographically, it's still in the southern region. I've seen us place people as far as like New York and Boston though, and Chicago. So it's still possible to go beyond that, but when we're talking about those higher jobs, it's usually more regional in the South.
Yeah. And when I hear Nashville, I think there's probably especially like healthcare consulting type type stuff, since there's so much healthcare going on in Nashville.